Hey, I'm Julia, and tonight I want to tell you a little bit about desires and the energy that is associated with them, and where that energy actually goes when we don't allow ourselves to express them. So, this may be a bit of a foreign concept for you, but a desire is a thing that has a specific vibration, a specific energy in our body. Whether we feel that desire through a thought or a physical sensation or I don't know what else, like a belief, it manifests in our body, and we can, if we're connected enough with our body, we can feel it on the subtle energetic level, but sometimes it's just a thought, that comes into my head, like, oh, I want an ice cream. But then if you're actually feeling hungry, then you'll feel that, in your stomach as well. Your saliva glands will start to activate. So I have recognized within my life and this journey that I've taken in connecting with my body, these different signals that my body will tell me regarding my desires. And I've also become very connected with what happens to those desires when I don't allow myself to express them. And I wanted to share with you these 7 ways that I've recognized that desires are expressed when we don't actually allow ourselves to express them. Because, energy does still move, it still goes, it still exists in some form, even if we don't allow it to be expressed in the form that it desires to be expressed, if that makes sense. So, if we think of a desire like energy, having a desire, just using the ice cream example for a second here. If I have a desire to treat myself to an ice cream, but I don't allow myself to actually indulge in that, then much like our emotions, because a desire is, in a sense, an emotion, an energy, then rather than being put outwards, it turns inwards and gets stored in my body. Having a craving is a little bit different, for example, but say if I have a desire to be creative and I don't allow myself to express in the way that I want to, then I will start to notice that energy become trapped in my body. Creative energy specifically tends to formulate and collect around the hips, because creativity is very much associated with the sexual organs. So that's where you will start to notice that energy collecting. If you're a person that has a very stiff hips or trouble walking, maybe your lower back, that there might be an opportunity there to just connect with what are some of my creative desires that I'm not actually expressing, and finding a way to allow yourself to express them. The second way that these desires may show up is by a certain heaviness. If it's we suppress our emotions in different ways and they get trapped together. So say, for example, I have a desire to allow myself to cry. Maybe I feel sad about something because my friend is moving away. And because I don't allow myself to actually be vulnerable in that way, I don't want to express those emotions, maybe because I'm around other people, so I stuff them down. But because I've just now depressed them or repressed them, they become trapped in my body until they are in some way triggered or reactivated. However, there are also positive emotions associated with this person that is moving or whatever. So not only am I suppressing the negative, sad emotions, but I'm also suppressing the happier ones, the joy, the laughter, the excitement, because in my mind and in my body, they are connected. So if I suppress one of them, I have to suppress the other one. What you will then see as a result is people feeling like depressed because they're not actually expressing not just their negative emotions, but not their positive ones either. The third way that these desires may be expressed is by amplifying our negative emotions. We become a lot angrier and sadder because we've compacted the emotions that we have in our body. If we continually tell ourselves that it is not okay to cry, not okay to be angry, not okay to just express, like do the thing that we have this like real desire to do, then they become like compacted together and they start to grow and grow and grow. And the more that we have it stored in our body, I mean, you may notice a specific part of your body or back specifically, they tend to hold anger as well. But that something small may actually trigger you in a bigger way because of how often you've told yourself that it is not okay to actually express yourself in that way. And sometimes that is also true for the converse. Maybe you're a person that says yes to things that you don't want to say yes to. And when you say yes, maybe that creates a feeling of anger because you're not going against, or you are going against your true desires. And so you're sending the message that, you know, this other person is more important than me and what I want. So that energy then still becomes stored in your own body, but amplifies as well. So the fourth way that this energy tends to show up is through different, I want to say negative habits, but addictions is what's coming to mind the most. So oftentimes this is when we see people self-medicating, especially if you have a physical desire to express. If you're one of those people that was told you have to be quiet or to bite your tongue, then you may notice a lot of those like oral fixation things that Freud had once talked about. So maybe you smoke, or you self-medicate with food, or even sometimes like alcohol, or even like using social media. It's like a way to numb and depress the desires that you have. But again, that energy still wants to come out. It still wants to be expressed. There are lots of like healthy ways to help move that energy through your body as well. Maybe it's exercising, maybe it's just like singing or like doing those happier things. But if it's not aligned, like say if you have a desire to, I'll just use myself again, but if I have a desire to sing and I'm exercising instead, while it's still a healthy way of moving the energy, I'm still neglecting that true desire that I have. And so the energy is still going to be building in my body, and you know, I'll essentially be using exercise as a way to self-medicate, but not truly connecting with what my body wants for myself. The fifth way that we see this energy manifesting is by feeling overwhelmed. We will often allow our boundaries to become overstepped. As I was saying earlier, we might have a tendency to say yes to things that we don't want, or say no to things that we actually do want, because we've been told that, you know, I don't know, it's not polite to have a second dessert, or that we would be greedy if we said yes to this thing. And so we sometimes feel, and especially if we're taking on too much, then that energy of being overwhelmed tends to show up a lot. So it might show up as anxiety, or just like a really uncomfortable sensation when you're around other people. Maybe you actually want to, or notice yourself wanting to not be around people that often because of how overwhelmed you feel when you're around others, because you just don't connect fully with your own desires and set those firm boundaries of what it is that you want. Just because you're able to notice that, I don't necessarily want to be in this conversation, but then not expressing that, not allowing that desire to be heard by the other person, you're still neglecting your own needs. And that is, again, still an energy that it exists. It needs to be acknowledged. It needs to be, it just needs to be expressed before it can properly leave the body. The sixth way that we see this energy manifest is that our life tends to feel more difficult and not in the flow. So maybe you have a job that you really don't like and you find yourself really struggling to get out of bed in the morning, and you are like cranky the whole way that you're driving to work, and then on the way home you're just thinking about like the drink that you're gonna have when you get home. Like, it just feels hard. And even though we've been trained that, you're supposed to go to work, you're supposed to do this thing, you're supposed to blah, 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 that's not what your soul wants. That's not what you want. Maybe you're just working because you think you have to pay your bills or you need the money or whatever, but there's still a deeper voice inside of you that wants something better for you, that wants you to express your true gifts to the world. And so if you continually squish that voice, it will leave you feeling very stuck, very trapped, very out of the flow. When you are in your flow, things just seem easy. Synchronicities happen. People just show up that, you're thinking of buying a horse, and then this person starts talking about that they have a horse for sale. I don't know why you'd be buying a horse, but it happens. Things just come together very easily because you're allowing that energy to move through your body. But if it's becoming stuck, then you're going to see that manifested in the outside world as well. Things will just seem harder, You'll go into the grocery store and there will be a really long lineup, and all of the lines, all of the things that you want are not available on the shelf because they're just out of stock. So just allow yourself to be in the flow. The number 7th. The 7th way that we see this manifesting, as I mentioned with the boundaries and feeling overwhelmed, is that we tend to have this deeper desire to retreat from deeper connections. And so in many ways, we feel a certain difficulty in connecting with others. We don't feel those close connections that we're perhaps longing for. We don't feel like it's just easy and flowy and fun to have conversations with strangers or to connect with people, because we are constantly overstepping our own boundaries when we do allow these people into our lives. So for us, it just feels very draining to make a new relationship with someone, to start a new friendship, or to even be in a romantic relationship sometimes, because of that desire that is unexpressed. And so holding on to that energy causes us to just not want to connect fully with other people. For myself, I've recognized that, I've definitely experienced all of these symptoms and more. And this is just my own experience. Again, maybe this doesn't resonate for you. Maybe you're not a person who even has an issue with expressing yourself. Expression happens in so many different ways, whether it's dancing, moving, singing, creating some kind of art. But everyone has a unique gift and way of expressing themselves. And it is so, so important to honor that, to acknowledge that within yourself, because if you don't, it will begin to manifest in your life in ways that you probably don't want it to. It will cause you pain. It will cause you to feel stuck. You'll rob yourself of the joy that is actually available to you in life. So, yeah, these are 7 ways that energy, your desires, get trapped in your body when you don't express them. And I hope that this gave you a little more incentive to allow yourself to have that ice cream, to allow yourself to just let go of the judgments and be silly and weird and wacky and just don't care what people think, because you are totally worth it. And, if you just express the real you more often, I think you'll be surprised at how much people actually love you for it. All right, beauties, thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you soon. And if you want any more assistance with this process that you're walking on of connecting with your own self-expression, reach out and I will tell you about the 7-week program that I have coming up. It will address all of these issues and more. Take care, beauties. Much love.